Hi, book friends, and let's talk about some of the books, some of the nonfiction books I plan to read this year. So, if you don't know, one of my 2025 reading goals is to read 10 nonfiction books. Um, for the last couple of years, I've probably read, for like legit, for like the last 3 years, I've probably read a total of like 12 nonfiction books, and that's embarrassing for me. Um, I pride myself on reading diversely, and so that means I need to read some nonfiction. Now, I'm not really a self help girly. Um, I think the only self help book that I really read was Atomic Habits, um, and it was a good read, but it's about everything you think it is, to be honest. Um, but it's cool. That's cool. Sometimes you just need things to be kind of like plain and simple, right? Um, but yeah, I read a lot of nonfiction and I need to read more. And I realized that I enjoy memoirs. Sometimes I feel bad, like, I guess, rating memoirs, but a good internet friend told me that, like, you're not rating their life, you're rating the quality of the book. And, that's kind of made me rethink, like, rating them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so this year I definitely want to read a few more memoirs. I do like essays, collections of essays. Um, I read one by Samantha Irby last year. She's hilarious and very sarcastic and very low key, curses a lot. And I like that. I like that a lot. Um, so I hopefully will read a little bit more of her catalog. Um, One of my favorite memoirs. I know I mostly read books by black people, but I did read Janet McCur. Is her Janet McCurdy? Sam from iCarly. I don't. Jeanette McCurdy's memoir. I'm glad my mom died. Beautiful book, by the way. Very sad, but very well done. The audiobook was incredible. Um, but yeah, I'm getting off track. I'm getting off track here, but y'all know that's my vibe anyway. So here are some that on my. Here are the like five. Is this five? One, two, three, four, five. There are the five that are like the physical copies I want to read. Um, I am trying to read down my bookshelf, so I had to pick some that I already had. So let's get into them. First up, Pleasure Activism by um, mm, Adrienn Marie Brown. One of my really good internet friends told me that this book, she loves this book. Um, my friend is also a doula, and so they were like, "You need to read this." So after they told me that, honestly, I think I bought it immediately. I don't. And two, I will say that I sometimes struggle with conversations around sex. So, um, hopefully this book like breaks some of that down for me, and kind of gives me a new perspective about it. Then we have Eight Dates. Um, Eight Dates: Essential Conversations for a Lifetime of Love by John Gottman and Julie Schwartz Gottman. Um, I have honestly, this is a book that my therapist recommended to me. Love her down. I miss her. She's not my therapist anymore, but she recommended me this book um, because sometimes I struggle with like knowing how much you tell somebody when you're in a relationship, and like I think the whole idea of like talking and dating and all of it is kind of like blurred the lines, and so um, I started reading this book and I was like, "Oh, girl, I'm a little stressed." Um, because essentially like they it, they want you to get right to the hard questions. You ain't no need to wait, and that is interesting to me. So um, I put it down, but I really do want to get through this one this year, especially since like I more recently read. Um, it was another book about dating. I don't know why I can't remember the lady's name right now. But it was about like hookup culture and like how you should use dating apps and things like that. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that book, and so hopefully, I can meld those two conversations, and this is like a continuation of that. Then we have Feminism is for Everybody by, of course, Bell Hooks. Um, Honestly, Bell Hooks is another person whose catalog I am down to read completely. Um, it's Bell Hooks. Like, honestly, I stand her. Um, All About Love kind of ripped me apart in a good way. And it's something that I think I'm going to go back to a lot. Well, I need to go back to for real, for real. But yeah, so just got to read our work. Then we have Ace. What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. Um, this is interesting to me, and I've been wanting to read this one for a while. There was a point in my life where I was reading this book called Compulsory Sexuality. Um, it was like basically looking at American culture through an asexual lens. Um, and obviously the author is Cherie J. Brown. I can't. Anyway, it was a great book. And while reading it, I was like, "Dang, girl, like, are you a little asexual? Like, are you? Is that your bag?" Um, Ultimately, I don't think that's my bag. But again, sexuality is a spectrum, and since I read that book, it's really challenged me to um, really consider how I view sex in a multitude of conversations and just like how I interact with people every day. And two, so I wanted to read or just some other book about asexuality just to get a more expanded perspective and just to kind of um, just know a little bit more about asexuality and just sexuality in general. Um, hopefully, hopefully, I will maybe even read a memoir by someone who is asexual. I think that'll really full circle it for me. And then last but not least is Assata. I bought again. This was one of those books. If you watch my BookTube newbie video, I was talking about how I bought a bunch of books. Um, when I was getting into like organizing and all that kind of stuff. Assata is one of those books that I bought 4-5 years ago at this point, and I just never read it, And um, I love the Black Panther Party. Um, Obviously, I never met them, but I love what they stood for and the things that they accomplished, and the way they've challenged our thinking and how we view community. And so I've always wanted to read Assata, especially too since I feel like when people talk about Black Panthers, it's very male centered, and we know if Black feminist politics have taught me anything is that there were Black women there. They were on the ground. They were doing the work, and they deserve acknowledgement and recognition for those things too. And so, it helps that by reading their work and reading books about them. And so, yeah, um, these are my 5. I'm not really sure what order I'll read them in, to be honest. One thing that I feel like I often do, that I've at least done more recently, is pick up books that are, I'll pick up the physical and listen to it on audio, so I can go like follow along and highlight and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if these end up like that. But we'll check back at the end of the year, see which ones I got through, which ones I didn't. Hopefully we got through all of them. And so, thank you all for sticking around and listening to me talk about 5 nonfiction books I plan to read this year. As always, subscribe, comment, stay tuned for more.